The Dearborn Independent, Chronicler of the Neglected Truth, December 19th, 1925, Volume 26, Number 9. Mr. Ford's page of the Dearborn Independent. No one is fooled who uses common sense. When common sense says that one cannot get something for nothing, it also says that those who promise this are not reliable. That is, in common sense is the corrective of greed, which is the lure to most pitfalls, and a key to the knowledge of human nature. To know the law of increase and the motives of man is to be wholly safeguarded in all earthly affairs. Few people are not thus equipped. Only a small minority are ever victimized by swindlers, and of these the larger part knew better but took a chance. However imposing the record of swindling may be, it would be a mistake to conclude that the majority of the people are easily fooled. It is true that the number of the deceived is large and the amounts involved are impressive in aggregate, but both form rather inconsiderable minorities when compared with the whole. That is, the majority of our people use their common sense and the greater part of our money is honest. With the agricultural scientists seeking a rust-proof wheat and the blind-proof corn, and a scab-proof apple, thereby destroying the pests by depriving them of their nourishment, we may hope for people also to become more and more folly-proof and swindle-proof. If the reports are true and every person beaten is thereby made more wary of the future, the total result must be that the field is being greatly restricted. If every man deceived is thereby turned into a decent proof man, the deceivers are bound to go on short commons and no distant time. It should be said that in all candor that the strength of deceitful business practices lies not in the extreme cleverness of the faker, but in the ignorance of his victims. Swindlers are never clever. Their constant contact with inferior form of mind in their victims robs them of the opportunity to become clever. Cleverness is the result of sound, strong minds working on each other under equal conditions and with similar motives. The swindler naturally picks what are called the easy marks, the inferior minds, and works on them. It requires no cleverness. It is the irony of the natural law governing these things that as a swindler grows more sodden in mind by the ease of his conquest, the victim grows clearer and sharper in mind by the pain of his experience. Like the diseased germ, the swindler provokes the very force that is to destroy him. The more important element in this duet is the ignorance of the victim. Once that is defined, a long step is taken towards its correction. The first element in this ignorance is basic. It is greed. By that is meant a primitive desire to get something for nothing. Of all the swindlers practiced on people, there is not one in which the victim expected to contribute an atom of effort to the great increase that was promised him. He thought the other fellow was going to do it for him. This kind of greed is not to be confused with legitimate ambition to get ahead. The legitimate ambition usually connects with some form of energy and service which will justify the individual getting ahead. But in swindling operations, the victims usually expected to get something for nothing. Once they become aware that nothing comes that way, that all the success they see has been paid for at a high cost of application, that thought and energy and service, they will be safe from the spoiler. Another element of the easy victimized type of mind is ignorance of human nature. We praise knowledge of every kind, yet men often fall into the error of priding themselves on ignorance of human nature. One man said he would rather be fleeced on his last dime than distress his fellow man. He had a complete misconception of what is meant by knowledge of human nature. It certainly does not mean the cultivation of a sour distrust. It means quite the opposite. It means a trained sense of discrimination between the true and the false, the good and the bad, the straightforward and the devious deceptive. To lack that discrimination is to be of lower intelligence than the birds and dogs, who are said to sense the attitudes of person towards them. Merely to be distrustful is to lose from lack of contact with the good more than is saved by the lack of contact with the bad. In short, human nature, being the chief element of human concerns, is the sheerest ignorance to neglect it. The human equation, we say, meaning the most uncertain element in all our computations. Those who know its weaknesses and its strength, its probabilities and its more fixed lines, its reactions to this or that given set of circumstances, its reliability when wholesomely motivated, and its deceit when it falls below the rule of right principle, those who know these things by observation, experience, and the inner monitor walk through the world avoiding pitfalls, free to focus their energy on true accomplishments. To know that something cannot be had for nothing, and to know how to judge the human element, these form a prudential knowledge against which sham has no power.